Graham Plattner fireside chat.
Hey, my name is Graham Plattner, and I
Oh
want
my
to
god, it really is a fireside chat. Hey, people. Seth Bling here.
talk to you today about masculinity. It comes up on the campaign trail a lot. I think primarily because of how I sound and how I look and the kind of life that I live. A lot of people kind of think that I'm some sort of avatar that's going to be able to explain the current problem we have. Now, there's been a whole conversation over the past couple of years, especially in the Democratic Party, about how do we get back young men? How do we re-engage with young men who've been taken in by these stories and these myths, frankly, about what masculinity is supposed to be? Taken in by resentment and grievance, taken in by this idea that they deserve something in this society and they're not getting it, and that they're supposed to blame women.
He really does post a lot. So he does these once a month? That's cute.
Or they're supposed to blame the media, supposed to blame other people, instead of telling them
I saw just a story.
it is that grievance, it is that alienation that is driving their feelings of insecurity and sadness. It is driving their loneliness.
The problem with this conversation that I think everyone's recognized if they had it, and Lord knows I've had this conversation, is that you can philosophize all you want about like what young men need, but the problem is you look at young men online and you're like, holy shit, you guys are unrepentant fucking monsters. Like you can talk and talk and talk, but at the end of the day, like you people are willfully self-destructive. Like you're not exactly looking for good advice. You can make good advice, but if they're not listening to it, like I'm not saying all young men are monsters. I'm not even saying they're unsalvageable. I'm just saying like, you have to like be open to advice. Basically, a lot of these people are so far down the pit. Young men that are willing to hear someone like this are monsters. Yeah, of course, but that's the problem, right? It's like telling young men don't rape people. The people who hear that and listen to it are going to be the people who probably weren't going to rape anyone anyway, and the people who are going to go ahead and rape people aren't listening to your your ass. So it's like, how do you get the advice to the people who need it, basically, and how do you get them to listen? Because that's not. Yeah, it's not easy. Bring back conscription to give young men basic life skills, dude. Unironically, Jesus, it's really tough to talk to these people. I think you need to be mean in a way that hurts, but also makes a good point. Look, there are lots of like effective rhetorical strategies, and yeah, for the most part, you want to make them feel like it's cringe to be who they are right now, if they are in the pit. I mean, because it is. Uh, but like a lot of them just it's like the incel thing. How many people get convinced out of inceldom? Sometimes it's like a time and place thing, but it's usually not like a direct conversation. I think we just need to get rid of the internet or something. I've like we would reduce the amount of antisociality amongst young people so much if they just couldn't use social media for a while. I know that's not realistic right now, but legitimately like 100% of 14-year-old neo-Nazis are neo-Nazis because of the internet. It's not as though any of them would have been like that if it wasn't for the stuff they were radicalized by online. It's like all of them, It's crazy. Or knew they could afford a home. Well, that I actually don't like as an explanation, because the idea that young men are far right because they can't afford a home is I think like bunk. That I don't think that follows at all. What about being like economically deprived means you're far? I don't think that tracks at all. That's like an excuse to me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, if only I could afford a home, I wouldn't be a neo-Nazi. Like, why? Why would that? Why? How would committing your life to a 30-year mortgage and like putting a down payment down on a home, how would that like fix your brain? You just have to, you have to socialize more people. You have to interact with most people. You have to fucking get out there and engage. It's really tough. Economy is a huge effect. Don't underestimate it. I'm not underestimating it, but I don't think that's true. I don't think people are Nazis because like the economy is bad. Also, the economy is really not that bad compared to points that it's been in history. If the economy got really good, it wouldn't change the fact that the reason most of these guys are neo-Nazis is because they're terrified of young women, like petrified. That's the real cause here for most of them. It's all being weird about women.
There's all this talk about, do we need a left-wing Joe Rogan, or is some Democratic political consultant going to spend $50 million to come up with a media plan on how to approach young men? And honestly, it's all nonsense. It's utter nonsense. What we need to do
I mean,
is
isn't it to the leftist argument to say people's ideology is most often the product of their socioeconomic condition? Yeah, and what I'm saying is it's their social condition, not their economic condition. Yeah, I reject the economic argument. The American economy is better than like almost any economy on earth. The idea that the Nazi breaking point is houses are expensive when people spend on average 9% of their income on groceries. Like the economy has been way worse in the past, most of the past, and in most of the world. So I don't think that's it. I think it's the social factor, not really the economic factor, you know. Socioeconomic encompasses a pretty wide range.
we need to re-engage with the idea that masculinity is based around support. Masculinity is based around protecting those who are weaker, protecting those who aren't as lucky, protecting those who don't have the same privilege in this society that many men like me do. We can't just talk about it, though. We have to model it. And we also have to show a politics that is willing to both forgive, but also that is requiring accountability. You can't just go through life being awful to other people and then one day just perform.
Getting Nazi tattoos and keeping them for 15 years, if you could imagine such a person.
That you feel bad about it and move on. There needs to be some form of accountability. But we also need to be very open to the idea that as we
I think of that one piece where they interviewed Zoomer neo-Nazis, point out the majority of the guys in that focus group made enough money to get a house. Yeah, no, it's just flatly like not an income thing, and we shouldn't pretend that it is, because it's like a distraction. Like if the economy improved, that would fix it. It's about alienation, and it's about them being groomed into sociopathy. On forums, basically. Like it really truly, the culture war did not drag them in because they were worried about like prices in the future. A lot of these people got dragged in before they were old enough to even worry about stuff like the cost of housing. You know, it was a deliberate move by the deep state, by the powers that be, by Jeffrey Epstein, whatever you prefer, to cultivate a style of culture war that would keep people occupied when, as like the world's economic inequality gets worse and worse and worse, financialization of the economy, a style of culture war that would grasp people like regardless of their economic station or where they live in America. You know, people are roped into the same culture war, like on the right, whether they are a student at an Ivy League university or a poor Appalachian coal farmer. Coal farmer. Humbly tending to their crop, you know? It's just very, and the crop is not looking good. Farming coal, that's what I do. Anyway, like it ropes everyone in, you know? It's very unique in that respect.
Watch people become accountable, publicly have to talk about things that they've said or done, that after that we need to be open and compassionate and empathetic to welcome them with open arms into a society in which we are not trying to all be split and divided, but a society in which we support and love each other. I know this kind of sounds like wishy-washy hippie talk, but it's not. This is how we build a world that builds everyone up. This is how we build a system that gives every American the chance to live to their fullest potential. We don't have that right now. One of the reasons people feel so lonely and alienated, they live lives that are defined by struggle and work.
I think, oh man, fuck, I've gotten like less empathetic over time on this. I think a problem that a lot of people make when they talk about this is they make the mistake of thinking that harm has to be proportional and it has to be like cyclical. The reason these young men are hateful is because they've endured, they've like suffered. And the truth is often the opposite. Like it's not like that. There is an element of like cyclicality to abuse, I guess, in an interpersonal sense, but the idea that all of these like freakishly far-right young men who despise so many people and unironically want like mass death for no reason is because people have been mean to them or whatever, I just don't think that's true. They were just groomed. This is, by the way, like pretty well supported based on whatever evidence we have on this like subject. There are very, very, very difficult. It's difficult to make correlations when you're talking about stuff like income, area, even race. Like there are a lot of non-white people who are online who fit into this camp, even like LARPing as white people to play white supremacists or whatever. Like all of this stuff adds up. It's really tough to find these correlations. The big correlation is, for one, these people are almost always men. Like across the board, they're almost always men. And they were groomed into it. These people did not arrive at these positions, these guys, like naturally. They did not, arrive at them as a consequence of stuff that happened to them in their day-to-day world. They entered social groups that initially took advantage of their nihilism and their insecurity and their self-hate and whatever, and then they used that and they twisted it and they turned them into a like hateful monster. I do think social media and algorithms are a huge root of this. I guess what I'm saying is that you can improve the world as much as you want. You're not going to fix this problem. You have to tear the internet apart. There is a multi-billion-dollar machine online designed to groom young men into this. And it is mostly men, not entirely, but mostly men, not because men are innately bad, but because they're just the targeted demographic. There is a historical, patriarchal pre-association that was taken advantage of to groom them into this mindset. It is like shocking how weak these people are. Not only do these guys believe in nothing, they truly believe in nothing, they don't believe anything about their own beliefs about nothing. They're like endlessly shameless. Like they have no spine at all. They'll wriggle in or out of any set of positions, not even because they find it satisfying necessarily. They just don't have, there's just nothing. There's nothing up here. And I don't think that's because they can't afford a house. I think that's because their brains are broken. They don't enjoy anything except for other people's suffering. It's very cartoonish, but unfortunately, like that's the world we live in right now. Recent study showed Twitter is now more conservative than Facebook. Yeah, I saw this. Twitter is the only social media platform that has a net positive view of Trump. Look at that. Based on where people get their news from. If people get their news from Twitter, they're 18 points more conservative than Facebook, which is the next runner-up. Reddit equals American Maoism? Seriously. The fact they can't afford a house radicalizes the youth. I do not think this has anything to do with the economy. I think it's completely divested from it. Like you could literally, like any economic set of conditions could be right now happening and it would not change the underlying issue. It's just about them being groomed. Now, I do think that like broader social alienation contributes to this, but it's worth pointing out that like that's not necessarily the economy. People don't work more hours now than they did 100 years ago. They work less hours on average. So it's not like people can't socialize because the economy is so bad that everyone has to work 12-hour days, because that's just not the issue, really. There is like an alienation factor to it, in how people work, but it's more of a social thing than an economic thing. Isn't that a very idealist take? No, and respectfully, you don't know what that means. What do you mean? Marx didn't think everything on Earth was caused by the economy, I don't agree with that. Economic insecurity drives people towards radicalism. Yeah, but some of the loudest neo-Nazis online are 14-year-olds that haven't even experienced economic insecurity. Also, economic insecurity has been worse at basically every point in human history than it is right now. Like, I think we're giving them a lot of cover here. And I don't want to like, I don't like the rest of we're telling you it matters tremendously. Who the fuck is we? You're you. I don't give a fuck what you think. What do you mean? You just said I'm telling you it's different. Okay. What are you talking about? I don't disagree with your assessment. I'm saying that being at work all the time at one edge financially contributes to feeling isolated or strange. Okay, but people used to work more than they do now. Like work hours on average have not shifted that much since World War II. Like it's not, something changed, and it's not the work hours, and it's also not affordability. For the most part, stuff is more affordable than ever. It's relative. Dog, the Nazis don't care about the economy. They do, dude, all of them, they love Trump, and Trump is making everything worse. Trump has openly said he wants to keep housing prices high because it benefits the boomers who are using them as their retirement portfolio. It's just not, I agree that alienation's an element. I'm just saying, like, the actual health of the economy. It's important to make this distinction because I don't want people to like mistakenly believe that if we fixed the housing crisis or made stuff more affordable or whatever, that would like fix all these young brain broken people, Fascists supported Hitler even after it was literally burning the country to rubble. They don't give a fuck. Yeah, seriously. As we do now. Alienation from work, you mean? To an extent, mostly social alienation. I really, truly do think that it's the internet. I really like if you try to correlate preponderance of modern radicalization to the like work hours or economic well-being of a country, zero correlation. You can find poor countries all around the world where it's not an issue, whereas in the developed and wealthy West, we're having this big far-right resurgence all over the place. Thank you, Epstein. But if you look at a correlation with like internet access, kablamo. Like, not to all far right positions necessarily, but to the specific kind of like nihilistic, miserable incel, like ennui. That's an internet thing. That's definitely an internet thing. It's the Penguin video. It is the Penguin video. It is, dude. The Penguin video is fucking crazy. The Penguin video is insane. It like literally like it does not matter that we will die along the way because our suicide will be glorious. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You control the treasury. So how do we deal with these right-wing guys? I think that they have to be forcibly re-socialized, basically. Like the whole everyone gets unlimited internet access all the time thing just isn't working. As a social project, it's not working. It's literally not working at all. They need to go to the Latino clubs. They need to be grinded on by a baddie wearing Cookie Monster sweatpants. Yeah. That'll fix them or something type shit. Like they just need to not be able to allow their mental illness to metastasize. Okay? Like, it is normal to be a 14-year-old boy and be upset and moody and like kind of mad at women because you're starting to get interested in them, but they're not paying you attention. That's normal, and it will always be like that. But you should not then be allowed to go online where you find a bunch of like-minded people where all of you are being fed propaganda from men in their 30s and 40s who make millions of dollars grooming you with their propaganda machine into like ideological neo-Nazis, you know? With like a black-pilled, like everyone should kill themselves mentality. Like, that's not that. We can't do that, man. We can't do that. And like it's so difficult to address this directly because by the time they reach that point, they're so fucked. It's so fucking hard to pull them out of there. It's possible. It's possible. But like, you are literally trying to argue with a person who is not just personally suicidal, but civilizationally suicidal. They don't just want their own life to end. They think that all of this, all of it, needs to be destroyed, and not for any reason, and not because they want to build something better. It's insane. It's the fucking Penguin video, man. Would you say they should make the content illegal? I mean, I genuinely do think that young people should not be able to use social media. Like, I mean that. Now, in terms of implementation, like, I acknowledge there are good and bad ways. And, you know, every time I mention this, they're like, well, how would you do this? I don't know. Okay. I'm not trying to argue with you guys over the particulars of the implementation of that idea. I'm only saying that I think that ultimately that is where this is going, you know? In my opinion, I think that we are like we have to reconcile with like the fundamental problem here. That civilizational suicide stuff is basically how my older brother is, and I'm not saying he's totally fixed now, but he's become way more normal since getting a girlfriend last year. That's really funny, and also I am happy for your older brother. Yeah, like, obviously that's insane, but also, like, you know, good for him. Seriously. Nothing makes you feel you know, better about the future of human civilization than getting to like cuddle and watch, you know, Netflix with your girl or whatever, or your boy if you're so inclined, or even a non-binary person if you're a real freak. Would revoking Section 230 fix this? No. That's a totally no. That wouldn't fix anything. Are you talking about like a temporary solution, or like principally in almost all scenarios, young people shouldn't have social media access? I don't really know if there's a version of the internet that wouldn't have this problem. Because initially, like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, the internet was not like this. If you're around right now, you don't know. If you're like 25 or 20 right now, you don't know. You weren't around for it. I was barely around for it. The days before the internet became homogenized, the days when like there were a million websites and you would talk at school about new websites you found, you know? Like you like people would like gather in the playground and they'd be like, "Oh, I found this cool website where when you move your mouse around, it's like it's moving a 3D room around." And it's like, "What the fuck? That sounds crazy." And then you look, it's just like shit like that, you know? Like crazy stuff like that. Before social media, right? If you wanted to talk to people online, it would have to be like little IRC channels, which there were still people like getting groomed on those. That's not good, you know, but it was nothing compared to this like mass effort on the part of the far right to turn to like groom people into the far right, you know, basically to do the like Steve Bannon Epstein thing. Totally different environment. So I don't know, maybe now, maybe those days are gone and they'll never come back and we just can't have the internet for young people anymore. I don't know. I just started dating someone. We've been friends for a while. She told me earlier today I've been noticeably less misanthropic in my outlook since we started dating. Lamau, the baddie one shot is real. I want to be clear. I don't actually think it's about getting a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. I think it's just about having a person who you interact with a lot. It's like it could also be a close friend or a really cool coworker, you know? It's just about like in a world where like 99% of your social interactions are online and with insane people, getting away from that and just having a regular person that you just like regular conversations with, you know, that's good. Yeah, it's grounding, you know, it's good. Biologically, it's also necessary. Like we are like animals. We have like we're very social animals. We are supposed to live a certain way. We are supposed to see the sunlight. We're supposed to get regular sleep. We're supposed to get certain vitamins and nutrients. And yes, we are supposed to talk to other human beings in person. And if we're not doing that, like we are mounting like mental illness points, basically. It's not good. So many people think incels are just unfuckable dudes when it's 100% just mental illness that if overcome, they'd all make friends and find someone. Yeah, like 99% of the time. Yeah, for sure. 100%. Vaush, this is true. It literally happened with myself and my former roommate who I lived with for 6 years, basically radicalized me out of being mentally ill. Nice. This is one of the reasons, by the way, why I say that so many mental conditions can be like learned or unlearned, like mental illness or whatever. Because like I think that the evidence supports it, and also I think that a lot of people underestimate the malleability of our very plastic brains to our environments. So, like you could subject people to a wide range of stimuli that could make them think in a wide range of ways. And I think that a lot of people really do. Dude, okay, no, I'm off on this now, okay? It's not just the mental thing. So many people think that the regular functionality of the body and the mind are just innate things that you can take for granted. But as we're learning right now from what happens when people sit at their jobs all day and never do stretches and never walk or whatever, no, it turns out that like if your whole life is sedentary, you are going to have back problems the moment you turn 30, and your whole life is going to be like that, and you're going to die early and you're going to be miserable. It turns out that like, you know, yeah, we invented computers. We have not invented a human body that doesn't need to get around and move. And with our brains, people are like, well, my brain is that they do this mind body dualism thing where they're like, my mind isn't a sack of meat sitting in my skull. My mind is this ephemeral perspective that is detached from the material forces within my body. It doesn't matter what happens to my body. My mind is my mind. And then it turns out that your feelings and your emotions and your thoughts and your perspectives are wildly influenced by the food you eat and the sleep you get and the chemicals that you have. People, we just assume all of these things are like innate and unchanging, when in reality they are super subjectable to influence, you know? So I don't know, just like it's likewise with the incel stuff. You know, people are like, well, people are just like this, people are just like that. Well, have you checked in on the fucking conditions of the people who are just like that? Oh, all these young men literally do not talk to anybody in person. They can be in school, they don't talk to their fellow classmates. They can be at work, they don't talk to their fucking coworkers. They literally just go home to their apartment and do nothing but play video games. And like, no fucking wonder they're like that, man. They're not even like people in a social sense. Like, if any outside observer looked at their life relative to how humans are supposed to live, they would determine correctly that this is aberrant behavior and like indicative of mental illness. Like there must be something wrong with this one. You'd be worried about them, you know? But oh, because you haven't gotten a formal diagnosis or whatever, or you don't have a broken leg, like it's not evident. Well, it's evident to me because I've seen what this shit looks like. It's really sad. I've talked to so many of these types, you can immediately tell they get emotionally attached to you quickly. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah. Like they're so they've so neglected their social reality that they fall in like immediately, and if you're not reflexively interested, they get really upset. Like they're very desperate, basically. And that only like makes their feelings worse because, then they feel like no one else cares about them when they're like so caring. And then they tip the fedora and they're like, well, I mastered the sword and nobody else mastered the sword, and they get really sad about it and so on. You stop, I feel attacked and I'm a leftist chick. Then fix your shit, okay? How are you going to be a good leftist if you haven't studied the way of the sword, okay? Talk to people. It's super fucking easy to talk to people, okay? I'm past my eras of like, we have to be super kind and charitable. A lot of these guys are resistant to good advice and they hate you, right? A lot of these people, and this is not an exaggeration, literally want me and you to die. We're talking about people who, as a political group, these like incel, neo-Nazi, self-hating, super insecure misogynists, whatever, like they aren't just sad. They want you to die. They are so mad and sad and upset nonstop all the time. They literally want to end life as we know it. They don't care, you know? I mean, the kindness, I'm sorry, it's conditional, right? But like, we have to acknowledge some things. And this, to me, this is how I talk about it, right? You are pathetic. You are wasting your life. Listen, you're going to die one way or another eventually. Whether you want to make good use of the time between now and then is up to you. But like the sympathy shit, I'm sorry, like you're too insane to sympathize with, okay? You were not subjected to some crazy hardship. You're not suffering more than everyone else has suffered. You're not even close to that, okay? There are tons of people on your block who have suffered more than you. You're just bored and miserable, and you're too prideful to do the things that you could do to fix your brain, because now they're a personality trait. Your mental illness is a personality trait, you know? So you have to take responsibility for that, and you have to fix it. And it's not that tough to fix. Go outside, talk to some people, meet with some people, learn how to talk to people. Seriously, like step one, clean your fucking room, bucko, okay? What if it's too cold outside? That is a real problem. You have to put on more layers, yeah. I want to personally thank you for the male advice videos. I've been that kind of person who goes home from college immediately, only talks when somebody talks to me first, just played a lot of video games and bed rotted. Obviously, I still do play video games, but I just rushed at a film frat in my college, and I've been socializing, getting out a lot more. Genuinely, as soon as you do it, it does get easier. Nice. That's fantastic. That's super nice. I'm really, really happy to hear that. That's fantastic. That's really, really nice. A lot of people, this is a defense mechanism, by the way. These miserable, lonely people will convince themselves that they don't even want the time or attention of the people around them because they have to rationalize why they haven't gotten it already, It's literally the fable of sour grapes. Like the fox wants the grapes but can't reach them, so he says like, oh, I didn't want them anyway. They must be sour grapes, You're like, well, my 142 IQ incel mind doesn't want to spend time with others anyway. Of course I have no friends and no female to spend my time with. They couldn't even understand my thoughts. Dog, you're like 103 IQ at best. And also, your bed rot and your social retardation is dropping you by double-digit points, okay? Like, you have the social intelligence of a fucking amoeba. Like, you're not special. You're not even a little bit special. Nothing disabuses people of this notion faster than actually interacting with other people, okay? And that's one of the reasons they don't do it, Because they're so fucking contemptuously arrogant, even though they hate themselves. They think like, they don't want to talk to a woman because they never want to see a woman know something they don't. I know that sounds fucking insane, but I guarantee you a lot of these guys, they really are holding on to that, you know? Like nothing would, like they would want to kill themselves if they had a social interaction with like a jock guy or a woman or whatever, and they're like, they have to be smarter than them. They have to, this is all I have, that I'm smarter than them. This is the only thing that I have in my head. I have to be smarter than them. And then like, you're not, dude. You're just not. You're not special. You're really not. Like you're a bed rotting, you play video games all day. You're legitimately like not, you're kind of a waste of a life. That's your choice. You don't have to be, but like you're not special, right? You could get effortlessly brain mogged by like tons of people who you think nothing of. So just like fucking get over yourself. Admit that you want to talk to people and you want to be social, and then go do it. And then like and stop. And if you can't do it, then don't make it my problem. If you're gonna go and be miserable, like just keep that in your own little fucking box, okay? Don't then go and vote for infinite global genocide, okay? If you can't, you're making it my problem now, okay? You can try to end the world over this. Good luck, Sra. You should. This advice really does help. Been scared of going out because of dysphoria, but I've started working on getting involved in the leftist club on campus. Been going great. Yeah, listen, just you have to get out of your own head, okay? Your brain is a machine for self-rationalization that is designed to justify its own decisions. Your brain, biologically, is not designed to direct you towards a decision and then go, oh, that was bad. Sometimes it happens, but for the most part, your brain is trying to give you reasons why the stuff you do and are going to do are actually good. So if you stay inside all day, your brain is going to tell you that's what you want, right? If you're playing like fucking video games all day, your brain is going to convince you that the secret to your happiness is making it just a little bit farther. Like the next item drop or the next level or whatever, the next like speed run PR, like that's going to fix your brain. No, it really would. You just have to shut it off. Like you could literally, like right now, you could probably go to your Steam folder, uninstall everything, delete the exe from your computer, get up and walk outside and just vow to yourself you're not re-entering your house for the next 3 hours, and you would do more for your brain state than you ever could with anything you were doing, because you weren't enjoying those games, man. You were just killing fucking time, okay? You were not having novel, life-changing, innovative, artistic experiences that were informing your brain state. You were running through fucking spreadsheets, okay? You were playing shit because it dulled the boredom that you felt living otherwise. You know, you suck. You're a miserable wretch. Just fucking fix your shit, okay? I used to be a lot more sympathetic, but like these days I feel nothing but contempt for it's the people. And you know who knows this? Araki, JoJo's mangaka, okay? The most dangerous people are not contemptuous and malicious, but rather self-debasing. Nothing ruins the vibes more than the guy whose life is wretched, but also he knows it. And when you like talk to him, he's miserable, but also he's like apologetic about being miserable. You know, no one wants to be around these people. So just don't. You just have to not do it. You know. Being self-aware about being miserable does not fix it. It makes it worse. Like if anything, the delusion of not thinking you're miserable might be on some level a protective barrier, but without that, you're just self-aware about your wretchedness, which is not better. Just set it down and go outside. I know, but they have to be shown that. And I'm showing, I'm just saying, like, we're talking about young men or whatever. And like, I don't even think this is a masculinity. Like a lot of the guys that I'm describing are literally like the opposite of masculine, right? We're talking about pornography addicts. We're talking about people who literally do not believe in things like honor or chivalry or any of the traditionally masculine virtues. These people, for the most part, are not in great physical shape. Let's be clear here. Like these people are not, like, we're not talking about people who are embracing a paragon of toxic masculinity. We're talking about people who have flipped the fucking chessboard and walked out on the whole dynamic, you know? They're like, well, if I can't be the Giga Chad who effortlessly floats his way through social interactions, then the whole world might as well burn because it's not fair anyway. Dog, there is no such thing as the Giga Chad who effortlessly does anything. Everything good takes work. Everything. The guy at the club with the muscles, he has to work for those. They didn't just show up, man. Every person you see who is charismatic, what you don't see is the decades that they've spent considerately speaking to others and learning how to best engage with people. That's a cognitive process. Just because a lot of people find it natural, sure, okay, maybe they've taken that, maybe they're more given to something, you know, there's talent out there, don't get me wrong, but it still takes work. Nobody's born an amazing speaker or born ripped or born incredible at painting or pottery. Everything takes work. But you've convinced yourself that other people's, efforts are non-existent, because you look at them and you're like, well, the only way I can justify feeling bad about being me is if I pretend that that guy didn't have to spend a bunch of time doing what he did. Oh, there's no way the jock puts in effort. Everything's effortless. Nobody's life is effortless except yours, because you're the only one not putting in any effort. Everything good takes effort, and there's nothing good in your wretched fucking life. Everyone else has to put in effort. You're the only one who's not putting in any, and you're miserable for it. It's not help. You're not happier because you're being so self-negligent. All right, let's finish the video, maybe.
They don't have time. They spend all this time in front of screens. And
there we go. He agrees with me.
And often it's because it's just at the end of the day when you're exhausted and all you can do is lay in bed and stare at your phone. If we give people better support, if we give people the ability to have jobs.
Vaush, do you not realize there are people who put in effort and it doesn't work for one reason or another? I hate you. Okay, you're not going to believe me when I say this, but you need to understand it to internalize it, okay? When you're dying, you will not remember your accomplishments. You will remember the experiences you had working towards those accomplishments. Your life is not getting the PhD up there on stage or the graduation ceremony. Your life is the hundreds and thousands of hours that you spent studying. That's what informs you. There is no such thing as effort wasted. Your life is the effort. And the corollary, anything you didn't put effort into isn't your life. It's just a thing that happened to you. And it will be that way until you die. And that's life. There's no such thing as effort wasted. If you wanted to go out there and be more social and you put in effort, the effort was you. That was your story. You were putting effort in. That was a process. And if you're able to, you can learn from it. You can learn from failures. You can learn from successes. There's always something to learn. You'll be learning your whole life until you die. That's when you get to stop. There's nothing wrong with taking a shot at stuff and seeing it fail. You want to go out and be more social? Fine, go do it 1 day, 2 days, 3. Maybe it takes an age, You're still learning stuff. Learn something about why it's not working. Don't hate yourself over it. That's pathetic. Why would you hate yourself over something because you failed? It's ridiculous. Just try. Just put the effort in, Just what are you afraid of? It's not all ends oriented, There's not like an outcome you're specifically pushing for. You're just trying to engage a little bit with the broader process. Vaush, I didn't see anything about it being wasted. People are mentally unwell beyond their control and are lonely. You're making it sound equally easy for everyone. You're just hearing what you want to hear. I've never said it's equally easy for everyone to address the problems in your life. That's just an imagined. No, chat, you don't need a dog pile. I never said that. You're projecting. Of course, there's differences in difficulty. Everyone has differences in the difficulty of achieving lots of things. There's stuff that I'd find easy, you might not. You might find easy, I might not. Whatever. It's how it is. It's just how life goes. No two ways about it. You can't. There's no standard template. How do we connect with them, though? That's up to them. It's always up to them. Always up to them. Then why are you implying you have no sympathy for those unwell beyond their control? Because you're not actually ever unwell beyond your control. I don't believe in that. You have enormous amounts of control over your own behavior. If I take the deterministic position on this and I see the idea that everyone who is wretched for forces beyond their control, on what moral grounds could I condemn anyone? If the wretched, stinky incel is such beyond his control, how can I condemn the neo-Nazi? Is there something special about that makes it different? Am I opposing their behavior only because it's they're a political opponent? I'm not judging them personally? Of course not. I'll judge anyone and everyone for anything I think they had a hand in, which is everything. Not your height or whatever. I'm not gonna judge you for literal biological characteristics you had no control over. But yeah, of course. If you are this wretched, incel thing, miserable, suicidal, globally suicidal, right? Not just for you, but you take your anger out on other people. Yeah, of course, it's your, that's your life. By recognizing people can have factors they can't control, which can only lead to certain outcomes. This is true in economics. It's true in mental health. In economics, in a broad sense, you might recognize that people have a tendency towards averages, but on an interpersonal sense, everyone has control over whether or not they order DoorDash. Like, I can say factually that many people will order DoorDash. Many people will use financing to pay for their fucking burrito, you know? But interpersonally, I'm not going to accept that. And I am speaking on an interpersonal level here. I'm not talking about the reality that many people will stay lonely, which is true. I'm saying that if you're listening to this and you're choosing to because there are behaviors you could adopt and you're not, I don't respect you. You have to earn my respect by doing something, anything. Not saying you don't care about my respect. If you don't care, that's fine. I don't really, like, you should respect yourself, and you clearly don't. So, like, I don't know. You have to put the effort in. The effort's the fun part. Is it okay to order pizza once a week? No, your life is nothing to me. Are we still talking about Nazis, though? I mean, there's a huge overlap between the modern, very online far-right movement and this particular kind of, like, pathetic self-hatey insultdom, you know? Like, there's a very, very strong relationship between those. But you don't have to be a neo-Nazi for me to be contemptuous of you. Honestly, it does kind of feel like society is on the downhill in a lot of ways, and a lot of that does stem from a kind of collective disbelief in society and social participation. I'm not saying everyone has to go out there to the club 4 times a week or whatever. It's more like the less people believe in the project, the less the project can be. You know, it is a union of collective effort. So if a bunch of people are checking out, you know, it's it kind of worsens things for everyone, and you know, we all have to try. You're missing that effort may not be available to some people. Depression can absolutely drain somebody's ability to do anything. Stop. We've done this before. They can. It's just harder for them. And you're not doing them any favors by telling them that they can't or giving them the excuses. Just try and try harder and harder and harder and harder, and you keep trying harder forever until eventually we all die of old age. Like, I'm saying, like, is it harder? Yeah, but then what? What, do you just die? Like, you can't control your behavior at all? No, well, no, of course not. Like, you have to. What kind of advice is that? A person's depressed and you have to be like, you know, yeah, you can't do anything. It's over. And like, one thing that I've said, and I've been insistent on it in this rant, by the way, is you should never be upset at yourself for trying and failing, right? Because that's loser shit. You try, wow, you tried, that's great, you know, try again, whatever. You can't try then be upset it didn't work out. Just try and refine your methods and do your best. It's literally, you should never, ever, 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 ever feel bad at yourself for putting in effort, ever, for any reason, no matter what. Unless, I guess, the effort's bad. You're putting effort in to be like the stinkiest person. Then maybe, but even then, the effort's not the problem. The problem there is the goal. The effort in its own stinky way is admirable. You know, I don't agree with your outcome, I guess. I appreciate the vigor with which you're, you know, approaching it. Took me a long time to learn what Vaush is saying, but it's completely true. Totally corrected my trajectory in life at like 23. Hey, 23 is not that bad. It's pretty early. You know, we all only got so much time. Who knows how many of us are going to be here tomorrow, right? Car accident, heart attack, whatever. Do the best you can. Whatever you got. You must have had good parents because I never learned that lesson until a couple of years ago. It's not about having good or bad parents. My parents were excellent, mind you. But this is stuff that you just have to learn, like, directly through life experience. Right now, a bunch of people watching are rolling their eyes because they're like, oh, well, obviously I'd never be like that. But they might be like that in the future, you know? Again, there is no mind-body duality. Your brain is fed the chemicals by your body. At some point, you might get, oh, you wake up one day, congratulations, you've got a manic bipolar disorder. You know, you didn't know. Now you do. Congrats, you know? You're going to have to work through that. Depression, whatever else. That's just life. Nobody's constructed perfectly. You learn it, you realize how hard things could get, you work to fix it, you overcome it, you get better. You do your best. Sometimes you never reach that high again, you know, whatever. You ever, you know, tell a beloved friend of yours or a partner that their life is worthless because they're never going to reach the same mile time they had when they were 21? What are you, retarded? It's not about that. Your life isn't the mile time that you get. Your life is the time you spent practicing to get that time. Put the Hopium in the bag. The problem is there are people that are like 19 and can't compute what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. It's really tough. Yeah, there's basically no way to intellectually grapple with a lot of it because people take their mental state for granted. You know, they're like, well, I'm rational and I have these thoughts and feelings, so they're always going to be like that. You have no idea. You are a leaf that is being pushed about by the winds. You know, you have no idea. You are being turned all up and about the place. You truly do not know. Um, just have to make the best with what you've got. Yeah, solid sleep schedule will help a bit. That's why I've said, you know, people have asked me my entire time streaming, how do I become the best leftist? How do I best take advantage of my political positions? And my answer has basically been the same my entire life. Well, not my whole life, I guess. For the past 7 years, I've been doing this. My answer has always been focus on yourself first, the rest comes after. Eat right, sleep right, exercise. Talk to people. Become socially, socially competent, right? Develop yourself. Become strong, not just physically, but in every sense. And then you'll be the right kind of person to do good. It's like Mamdani, right? We all like Mamdani. Everyone likes Mamdani. He's a very impressive person. And it looks like he's been a very impressive person for a long time. But imagine if Mamdani wasn't that impressive back when he was 13 years old. He probably wasn't. He was 13 after all. What 13-year-old is that impressive, right? They're all kind of dumb. Imagine if back then he'd gotten it really in his head, you know? I've got to be the best leftist ever. I've just heard Soviet Anthem.wav ear rape version on YouTube, and I am radicalized. I am ready to become the best commie, you know? And then rather than focusing on developing all the skills that would eventually make him an excellent mayor, he focused on partisanship, you know, getting involved in the online forums, virtue signaling, gatekeeping, purity testing, you know, and he became the best little leftist that ever was. You think that version of Mamdani is going to become a mayor? No. There is something lost here, you know? Don't worry so much about being the best, like the best ideologue or whatever. Focus on being a decent, like, well-attained person, because a lot of you, frankly, suck shit at it. I guarantee you that if you were able to go back in time and compare how you take care of yourself now to how your parents did, not for all of you. I know a lot of you probably got parents who are wrecks, but for a lot of you, or your grandparents, I bet you'll find you go back 30, 50 years or whatever, a lot of people at the age you are now were more attained than you are now. They didn't have video games back then. A lot of them were pretty physically fit. You know what's a little factoid that I find kind of interesting? You know Bernie's run time was like 6 minutes back in high school? How many modern day future communists have a 6-minute run? Probably not that many. You know, a 6-minute run wasn't that special back then? Not, mind you, because it wasn't fast, but because they all were. Everyone was just a lot more fit back then. You know? 6 minutes is a fast mile? Yeah, and he was 18. They had to run to escape McCarthy. Yeah, well. Anyway, I guess the point that I'm making is that I think that our collective standard has lowered when it comes to our understanding of what we can do with our time and how much we can accomplish. It's weird. We are a generation. The multiple generations of people are watching this. I'm not trying to do like Fight Club posting, but I feel like right now, generationally, people are very obsessed with efficiency. What's the fastest way to clean your house? What's the fastest way to get in shape, to stretch? What's the fastest way to do X, Y? And yet a lot of people are just not impressive. Like, I don't know. Everyone just sits on their phones. You keep switching between talking about Nick Fuentes viewing incels and just depressed, lonely losers. I don't think there's that much of a difference between them. The defining characteristic of both is susceptibility and nihilism to a large extent. If a person is depressed and lonely, they're really psychologically manipulable, and a lot of them do end up falling into the neo-Nazi circles because there's a collective spiral in that direction. But the underlying problem, which is the ennui and the poor social acclimation and so on, those are common between them. I'm not really judging these people necessarily for being Nazis because I think they're as committed to being Nazis as they are committed to anything in their lives, which is to say, not very. You know, if they're not putting effort into anything else, they're not putting much effort into being Nazis. So the underlying rot here, I think, is what I'm more concerned with. I'm not saying that them being a Nazi isn't like bad or that it's justifiable or whatever. Yeah. I just did 25 push-ups. Can you do that? No. But a month ago, my max was 6. And recently, my max is 18. So give me another month. At this rate, by next year, he will hit 156,000 push-ups. Yeah. I can run the mile in 6 minutes. I think I'm doing okay. Look, I'm not saying that you're not fast, okay? I'm just saying that I think that a lot of the things that we spend our time on are not really worthwhile. And in the long run, they don't matter, and they contribute to a lot of negative health patterns in our life. And a lot of that is the use of the internet. And I, to an extent, incentivize that because people who watch me like my content. I'd like to think that this content isn't brain rot, but it is what it is. I try my best. I like doing what I do. I wouldn't apologize for it. Um, I just want people to use their time well. That's all. Have you ever, let me taper this off. Have you ever been playing a video game and it's very fulfilling and it's a big video game, very long? Maybe this happened when you were young and you got really, really, really obsessed with seeing the end. And then something happened. Like your file got corrupted, or maybe your younger siblings saved over it when they made their own game, something like that. And the file was gone. You couldn't play it anymore, or you'd have to start from the beginning 30 hours ago. And for a moment, of course, you're very upset. But then, as the upsetness cleared, you felt better because now you're free. Like, you were enjoying it, sure, but all right, on to the next adventure. You know what I mean? Rant on men and loneliness. It's worth noting, by the way, everything I've talked about here also does apply to women, just realistically, not as much. One of the big differences there is that women are not taught to be anywhere near as prideful. So even when women are really lonely, they don't think they're super better than everyone else. Like, this is the reason why femcells are a lot more rare. Like Asa Mitaka types, Chainsaw Man Part 2 reference. Because like when men get really socially clammed up, they start to think like, well, there's no point in doing this. But for the most part, like even with very lonely women, they tend to be pretty agreeable to the idea of socializing. And if they aren't, it's usually more because they're nervous than because they're contemptuous. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's 100% the case, but man, your pride is really hurting you there. I can't tell you how much my life improved when I realized that a lot of my negative feelings towards other people were actually born of jealousy. I don't really have an issue with that now, but back when I was in high school, I did. Like, oh, those jocks, they're da da da. They're all pretty cool people. I mean, some of them are jackasses, but like in a lot of cases, I guess I just kind of feel like they're wasting what I would take more advantage of. Like, either their looks or their fitness or their social relationships. And as soon as I realized that's what I was doing, I just worked on like building it myself rather than just coveting it. You do know your overall vibe as a bully. Were you the bully in grade school? No, I didn't bully anyone in grade school or anything else. I think when I was in middle school, there were some guys who tried to bully me, but the problem was I hit puberty really early, and I was as big then as I am now. So the difference between me and like seventh grade and ninth grade was like a literal 4'2" baby boy. And then I like body shape wise, basically how I look right now. So the window of me being bullied for being like an autistic kid or whatever closed relatively quick. Like there were still people who were mean to me in high school, but it didn't really bother me too much. So I guess it's not really something I think about.